Welcome back to Suns Valley Podcast, everybody. Got a great video for you today. Hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And I want to know from you, of the free agents that I'm going to present to you, who would you pick if you could have any one of them? Leave that in the comments below. Now, first, I want to start by saying that the Phoenix Suns have no money. We are broke. And there are a lot of other teams like that are just stuck in a situation where we're all going to be reaching kind of for that goodwill pile, that value bargain bin, reaching deep down in there and trying to see what we can get. So I'm going to bring you some of those so you don't have to do the looking yourself. These are the players that I've identified through the free agent list who I want for my team, and they might work for you as well, and they could potentially be pretty cheap. So first, I want to start with Victor Oladipo. Now, he gets injured a lot. That's the issue. His singing ability, not the issue. The guy's got pipes, all right? But he did come back this postseason with the Heat, and he played really well, like shockingly well. I mean, no one expected him to be game ready like this, and he wasn't game ready. He didn't have his sea legs, and he didn't have his wind, and yet he was able to really impress people. So that could suck for us because it might make him a little bit too expensive, but I could see teams not wanting to give him much money, not wanting to give him a full mid-level exception because they're just worried about his injuries. So if you combine that, maybe let's say people are giving him an MLE offer. Maybe we give him a little bit less than that 6.34 mil. But maybe he wants to come play for another contender, and maybe he doesn't have any other offers from contenders that are close to that. I just think he would be scary, of course, if healthy, being our third guard. Chris Paul and Booker come out, and who's the third guard off the bench? Not Landry Shamet. No. Not Campaign. Vic Oladipo. I mean, it would be one of the best, risky of course, but it would be one of the best moves I think that the Suns could make for a cheap price. All right. Next up, Goran Dragic. He's had issues with our franchise. He left under bad terms. Every time this guy has an opportunity to come back to the Suns, he just ignores us. I'm hoping, and I always get mad at him too. I always talk crap about him whenever he turns us down, but that's more like somebody who's being turned down by a woman he wants to date and she just won't say yes. I just want him back. I want him back with the Suns. I want to try to for the price. Like, guys, we are broke. I cannot stress that enough. And I think that because of his injuries, there's a real shot we could get him on a minimum deal. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But a minimum deal to have Goran Dragic in there as like the third or second point guard instead of Campaign. To me, the biggest thing that the Phoenix Suns have to fix going into this year is the point guard situation, and we have next to no money to do it. This is a cheap way that I feel like if we can keep Goran healthy for the whole season, be shocked at what he could do. I know he's 36 years old, but Chris Paul is 38 years old. So, like Kevin Garnett said, anything is possible. Now, you want another blast from the past? Jalen Sticks Smith. Of course, I was a Sticks stan. Everyone knows that. I want everyone to tell me in the comments, do you remember how much I rode Jalen Smith's coattails and tried to root him on and tell everyone that he wasn't a bust, that Monty was the problem? That the same deficit that Monty had with developing DA and his refusal to understand how to use big men properly was bleeding into the way that he was treating Sticks and acting like Sticks wasn't good enough to come off the bench for any minutes at all. You remember that? What happened when he went to the Pacers? Do you remember? He looked great. like really good. I don't even know if we're going to be able to get him back because we have such little money. I'm pretty sure the Pacers are going to want to get him back. But this kills two birds with one stone. There's a ticking time bomb with Ayton. And I think Jalen Smith could be there to help diffuse it. And the other thing that it helps is I don't like drafting people in the top 10 and then losing them for nothing, essentially. I hate that. So if we could recoup some value on a 10th round pick and actually get him back in the building and make things work, I don't think Monty is the coach for that. I hope Monty's able to orchestrate some kind of a championship another way that doesn't involve big men, because he does not know how to use big men, and he does not know big man talent when it slaps him in the face. When DeAndre Ayton has 22 points at halftime, what do you know is going to happen by the end of the game? He's going to have 28 points. He's going to barely touch the ball, and it was the same kind of treatment with Sticks. No interest in developing him, and a blind eye to his talent. Moving on. This guy, I don't know if anyone else is going to want him but me, but this is a personal favorite that I've been eyeballing in the league all the time, especially when Thomas Bryant plays versus Ayton. Whenever I see Thomas Bryant play versus DeAndre Ayton, I wonder why no one admits that he's better than Ayton. Now, he's not as tall, he didn't go drafted as high, but his motor is 10 times Ayton's motor, and it's constant. The issue with Thomas Bryant is he's been playing with a terrible franchise, and he gets injured a lot. So once again, we're broke. So a lot of these fixes are going to be duct tape fixes, and hopefully the duct tape holds and Thomas Bryant can play an entire year with Chris Paul, because if he played an entire year with Chris Paul, guys, I think you would be shocked at how similar his production looked, and I wouldn't be shocked if his production was better. That's just me. That's the flyer I want to take, and I hope that no matter what for Thomas Bryant, he goes somewhere and stays healthy so that I can look good after this video. Last player I want to show highlights of and talk about, Ricky Rubio. Ricky Rubio played for the Suns a few years ago, and we didn't get to the playoffs, but we did go 8-0 in the bubble, and DeAndre Ayton, who it seems like could be staying. Obviously, there's a ticking time bomb, but the Suns act like we want to keep him. So if it goes that route, Ricky Rubio at 32 years of age, not that old. Remember, CP3's 45. So I think Ricky Rubio has enough time left, and I would die for Ricky Rubio. This is probably my number one call. If I'm James Jones, I'm calling Ricky and I'm saying, will you come back and back up CP3? You know he's going to get injured and we're going to need you. This is the guy I'm going after, and I think that because of his injury issues as well, there's a decent shot that we could get him. I think we have to give him the taxpayer, because he actually played super duper good for the Cavs. I mean, he had several 25-point plus games and kind of had a little bit of resurgence. And I'm 35, so don't sit here and tell me 32 is old. I can still do some things on the court myself. And if I were 3 years younger, I would be. I don't know. I don't think 32 is that old, especially when you consider how old Chris Paul looks and plays. But I think we can get him for around that $6.34 million. And here's the cool part, everybody. So I just recently learned this. I'm not a cap genius, but I do know that this much is true. Once we hit our cap number, once we spend all of that $6.34 million taxpayer MLE that we have available, we're still allowed to make signings for 1.3 each. It's like if your bank account said, you've overdrawn, you're way over, or you're at least at your limit, you've spent too much, but we'll go ahead and let you spend as many $1.3 million contracts as you can possibly sign, because you gotta have 15 players. So what are we gonna do? Tell you to go out there with 12 players? No. So there are some minimum contracts that we can give if we can just convince the players to come here on a minimum contract. And hell, why not us? There's gotta be somebody out there of value who would be willing to come play for us now that we're a sexier team and we seem like we're just a player or two away from a title. That is obviously hopeful speaking, but there's got to be somebody, right? I mean, this is our time for that. It always happens for the other contenders. How's it not going to happen for us? So in that vein, I'm thinking Javon Carter. You know, I think we can get him on a minimum regardless. Also, a good example of someone taking a minimum that maybe didn't have to take a minimum is Malik Monk. And he did that with the Lakers. And obviously we don't want any Lakers, juju, but Malik Monk is nice. Went to Kentucky. I think he's a flamethrower. I mean, he averaged 14, 3, and 3 last season. How would you like to have 14, 3, and 3 injected into this offense rather than the bum juice that Campaign is giving us? Remember, folks, we're trying to replace Campaign at least as the primary backup, and we're trying to replace Shamet. Unless you guys want Shamet to be the backup too, let me know in the comments if I'm crazy on that. So Javon Carter gonna be out there. I wouldn't mind him. I would love to see him compete with Campaign again, and he brought the best out of Campaign. I don't know why, but when his bald ass was behind Campaign played his best, and I don't know if it was a coincidence, but I'm willing to find out. And Javon Carter is a very good defender. We are broke, folks. Okay, keep that in your mind while you're commenting that you don't want Javon Carter. Here's another one people might not like because he's had some bad dealings with Booker and he's hateable. Dennis Schroeder. Before you say no, Dennis Schroeder averaged 19 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds. Around, like really close to 19, 4, and 4 when he played as the primary backup to CP3 in Oklahoma City. He started a few games here and there, but he was the backup, and I want to see that Dennis Schroeder. And I trust Dennis Schroeder over Campaign. Do you? Anyone else here? Let's see. Dante DiVincenzo, and this one is for my boy Sundo. He averaged 9 and 3 last season. He's a 2 guard, 6'4". He's being looked at by Boston now, so it might not even be an option. But we could get him we might be able to get him for the taxpayer. Maybe. He might garner more. Gary Harris is somebody I would definitely throw the taxpayer at if we had an opportunity, but I could see him getting the full MLE. I think he's just a little too talented, and he hasn't had that bad of an injury history, so I don't think that they're gonna be scared to pay him, other teams. On to the other bigs that I have. Isaiah Hartenstein. If you follow the NBA closely, you know that Hartenstein is not trash. I think he would be a better backup center than Biyombo, and I love me some Biyombo, and I don't want to get rid of him, but I think he would technically be better, and I think that he would be better than McGee, and it doesn't seem like McGee's coming back. Nick Claxton on a taxpayer. And then the other one I've got is Ish Wainwright. Do you want to bring back Ish Wainwright on a minimum contract? I do. I want Ish until he proves to me that he's a bum, because he did not seem like a bum last year, and he's a fan favorite for a reason. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Cannot wait to hear from you guys. Today is free agency day. This is going to be huge.